In this video, I'm going to give you 6 mindset changes you can make to ensure you become a successful artist. At Burstimo, we've worked with a lot of artists, whether they're unsigned or signed to major labels, and we've noticed traits in the most successful artists, which they all seem to have in common, and I'm going to take you through them today. And the first one is focusing too much on the numbers. And I think the problem lies in that the numbers are now public, and 20 years ago you wouldn't know how many radio plays or how many singles were sold for an artist. Maybe you would see how many singles were sold if they charted, but you wouldn't if you were, say, an emerging artist. And what that's done is made artists focus on the wrong things, because you look at your Spotify and you see that you've got just a couple of thousand streams and you don't think that's a lot. But the only reason you don't think that's a lot is because you look at the established artists and you see hundreds of millions of streams and you think that that's what you should have. Your 2,000 streams in comparison to 100 million is going to seem tiny, and you don't get to see all of the other artists, the 40,000 tracks uploaded to Spotify every single week. They don't go on to get hundreds of millions of streams either, but you don't see those guys because they're having the same problems you are. And what ends up happening is if you focus on the numbers, that's what you get. You get the numbers. You start strategizing to be able to get your numbers up. The problem is you start to cut corners too much when you focus on the numbers. So you start following and unfollowing, for example, on Instagram, or you employ the wrong company because they tell you that they can get you 500,000 streams for as little as $100, and that's what you think you deserve, 500,000 streams. So you go and get that and you're happy with the numbers, but you never actually break as an artist because they weren't real. But in your mind, you were thinking about the numbers and that was all you were thinking about. Therefore, you went and employed that company. My second point is patience, because it takes a lot longer than you ever expect to make it as an artist. There are so many established artists that we've worked with or just spoke to their label or manager and said, where did it all begin? And they always start the story saying, well, we first got started in 2012, and then we started writing songs, producing songs, releasing them, doing shows. Then it hit 2014 and we grew a little bit, and that's how long it really takes. Yes, there are artists that will blow up overnight, and there are exceptions, and you might want to be that artist, but the chances are it's not going to happen. They are essentially just the equivalent of lottery winners in the music industry. For you, you want to have a sustainable approach. And my advice, which I give out a lot, is one, however long you think it's going to take, times it by at least 5, even times it by 10. And my second advice is assume there are going to be ups and downs. A journey isn't full of positives. If it was full of positives, every single person would be breaking as an artist. It is a journey and it is a challenge. And if you think you're going to struggle in the future, then write yourself a little note to yourself in the future to remind yourself why you started this, and also just some words of encouragement, because there will be one day in your career where you feel like giving up, and that's the day that you open that note. Whether it's a paper note or whether it's just a note on your phone, read it back to yourself. My third point is caring too much what your friends and family think. The amount of artists we speak to and we explore it and say, why don't you want to create that piece of content? Why don't you want to do it that way? And they're always thinking what their friends and family are thinking about them. And my advice to that is just start fresh. Don't tell anybody that you are starting an Instagram account or Spotify profile. It doesn't matter. They will not become your fans. They will just become supporters of your career, and you need fans, and the support doesn't really do much for you. So I recommend keeping it low key to begin with, and don't tell anybody about it, and then you can go and tell your friends about it, and then you'll feel more free to put out there what you want without any kind of judgment. So if you think a particular audience will like this kind of content but your friends and family wouldn't, then the likelihood is you wouldn't do it. You need to feel free in yourself to be able to create what you want to create and post what you want to post. My fourth point is treat your followers as humans. That is what they are. They are not just numbers. So say you wake up and you've got 10 new followers that day, and you think, oh great, another 10. Maybe I'll get another 10 tomorrow. But DM them, engage with them, reply to every single comment, and then they will feel like they are part of a community and they will know you. And then your engagement builds and it becomes cumulative because you've got more and more people who think that they know you. And every single post you put out, you've got comments and likes because they've been supporting you for so long and they've engaged with you. And remember how difficult it is to get a single fan. You need someone to stop scrolling or on Spotify, go to your Instagram account instead of just listening to your track and skipping. And then they've got to look at your content, decide that they like your content like you, and they're going to become a fan and they hit follow. Then they're going to see your content on a daily basis, fall in love, and then decide to spend money on going to see you live or stream your next track or buy your merch. That's a hell of an investment from one single person who has a lot going on in their life. They are not just a number. These are real people you should appreciate every single time. If you've got 500 followers, imagine what 500 people in a room would look like. If you can get them all down to your show, then that's a lot of money, that's a lot of fans, and a lot of momentum for your career. Tip number 5 is stop looking for hacks. There are no hacks. Even the hacks that I've found that worked were very short-lived and they were just kind of loopholes that got plugged. There is no point in trying to find hacks. You'll always be behind the game. And there are hacks like following and unfollowing. So you have a load of unengaged followers who just followed you because you followed them and they were hoping that you didn't unfollow. There's engagement pods that, yes, maybe 10 years ago engagement pods worked. Now you just end up with a ton of fake comments from people who don't really know you. And Instagram's a lot more sophisticated than that. They know that if you are getting the same comments from the same people over and over again, and then they go and randomly comment on other people's content, then they just tag them as chronic commenters, not people who are good value engagement. So they've plugged that loophole already. And if you really believe that hacks are the way forward, you're just going to fail as an artist because you can't continue after the hack because you weren't prepared for it. You don't know how you became successful. You just found some kind of loophole. So do yourself a favor and don't look for hacks, but look for something sustainable. And my final point I touched on earlier is don't look at established artists for expectations and progress because it will always make you feel bad because you forget about the artists that you don't see, the ones that are not being successful. So for example, if there's a new release or you're following lots of artists on Instagram and you see they're getting lots of likes, things are happening, they're getting interviews, radio plays, Spotify official playlists, you think, why is that not me? You forget about the other 100 artists that didn't release that day or did release that day and didn't have all that success and have things worth posting. And you end up looking at their numbers and it does nothing but just bring your mood down and make you feel like you are failing. And something I say in our content a lot is established artists aren't necessarily doing it right. They just have the momentum. So if you end up copying the Instagram bio or the content of an established artist, that doesn't mean you're going to become established as well. They already have the audience. They have a different strategy to you. You are an emerging artist who needs to have a strategy for growth with no exposure and no momentum. They're on a completely different level to you. So if you copy them, then you will end up staying exactly where you are because you don't stand out. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more music marketing videos like this, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.